Okay.
I gotta wait.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Pwnery's Week in Review. I believe this is episode 18, and I can't believe I'm still doing this, especially since I'm the guy who said I would never host a live show. Anyway, this is our weekly, Week in Review, where we talk about the top 5 stories of my area and your area and the rest of the world, and we chew the fat. And today, I've actually have a limited cast, but I do still have 5 stories for you, and I'm sure the others will jump in as time allows and continues to go on. So, everybody say good morning to Tony, host of the Early Watch.
Hey, good morning, people. The people really, you say you said you'd never do a live chat, but people really don't realize how entertaining it can be.
Yeah, at first I thought that it's work, right? It's a lot of work. When we did like Good Morning Gun channels before, it felt like a lot of work. I would do show prep every day, and it takes several hours before I went to bed every day. And then when I woke up, I'd have to cross out something that might have got outdated or irrelevant while I was asleep. So then I'd lose content. But yeah, it is kind of fun.
That's one of the things that when we brought the early watch back, we decided that show prep was going to be fairly minimal.
Mhm.
We weren't going to delve into that reading every damn article on gun control stuff that was out there because it just too mentally taxing.
Agreed.
And man, it is a lot better this version of early watch than before.
Truth be told, if I could have, I would do this every day. I think the problem
Don't.
is it's the burnout because in my case, when I do the show prep, I'm a one-man band. In your case, you at least have an army of 2, you and Jimmy. But it's still a lot of work, even for 2. If you see like news broadcasts, there's a entire staff you don't see behind the cameras. At the mixer table, at the executive level, your fact finders like paralegals, things like that. And you and I don't have that luxury, so we have to wear 5 hats to do one job.
And something that you don't see from outside is you have to sit, concentrate on all this shit, figure out how you want to present it.
Right. Like, as a matter of fact, this layout, for instance, the way that I've got this all set up, I have to
Hell,
monitor.
I'm just talking about news articles. You have to, if you're going to present a news article, you have to figure out how you want to put it out there.
Correct.
Which means you're studying the thing, which means you invest way more time in it than you really want to.
Yes, and you're right. I do the same thing. I pick 5 stories because I only have time to really read and absorb the 5 stories and then formulate my opinion on it and then figure out a way to present it so it provokes thought from the audience that may watch it live or later. And then there's always that factor too. Is what you're posting today going to be relevant 2 weeks from now when someone finally catches it?
The anybody who's listening right now is getting a pretty good insight to why the early watch changed into what it is right now.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads into what you and I were talking about before we went on air is I wanted to sort of delve into this idea of so you want to be a YouTuber. And initially, I had thought I was going to make one video or maybe a small mini series of videos on how to do it with all the nuts and bolts and like a full explanation. And I got the inspiration to do that when Jimmy had come back from Neptune off the event Horizon. And he was, did you like how serious like I made that sound? without breaking character.
Yeah.
So anyway, um, I was just thinking, he came back to do the early watch, and I had to basically figure out a way to teach him how to do it again because the last time he did it, we still had Google Hangouts. And so what I had done is I said, well, most of the gun channels guys are using something called StreamYard. And I said, it's got basic layouts, but it's also got a ton of paying portals where you have to pay for all the features you want to add. And I said, and I didn't really like that idea because if we start inviting other former gun channels members or just new people we're going to meet through YouTube's audience eventually anyway, um, maybe they want to try this, but they don't want to have to commit to contract. So what I'm thinking is, or what I was, when I originally started this particular server, I wanted to create a new form of gun channels in a way where on the stream channels section that you guys in the audience are seeing on the left side that says the early watch, penny arcade, the week in review, I wanted to fill that area with any new content creator or old one, any content creator who wanted to host a show using this format, we could all fly under one banner. That's why I call it Tales from MI6 because it's multiple people, multiple agents telling their stories kind of a thing. So I've got Early Watch here, I've got my show here, and this is so all of you know, there's an open invite for this. I always say that if you want to be part of the server just as a chatter, or if you just want to come hang out throughout the lobby throughout the week, you can always reach me at the email address in the description below this YouTube video. I put it in every week. I know it's really long and it seems like a comical name, but it's a legit address. I do take mail from it. And, I keep forgetting to remind people this every week. And after I finish the show, I always tell myself, remember to do it before you go into the show. Otherwise, I'll forget. So just consider this an open invite. If you're a former Gun Channels member, you can join us. You're more than welcome to. Just email me below. If you had a different username then as you do now, and I don't recognize your new one, just put your old one in the email also so I just know who you are. I can literally change your nickname in the server just with a note so I can remember who you are, or your icon will be obvious. And if you want to host a show, I can accommodate that. The server doesn't seem to have a limit with how many people I can have do that. And if a limit starts to happen, then I will put up the money to make the server go nitro to add as many people as we want. So if we reach that threshold, then I'll put the money up to do it. It's not a big deal.
I want to point something out right here.
Sure.
You hear a bit of rumbling here and there from people that this Discord thing is crap. And that is absolutely not true. This Discord and OBS combination work well together.
Yeah.
And for me, they work better than StreamYard.
Yeah, Discord watches for OBS. So when, for instance, when I when I fire up OBS, a little purple box pops up at the top of it saying, "Are you ready to stream?" So it recognizes that OBS is running, and it'll send a signal straight to it. Now, I have never used it in that function because I let OBS manage the layout, which is why you see what you see on your screen if you're watching from YouTube. But the reason I like it like this is because it is infinitely customizable. You can do whatever you want with the way it looks. And the way I point that out is, right now I just switched the view. I could do it like that or like this. And I'm going to refine this eventually just because I'm not sure how I'm going to scale this. But, when you have multiple people in the chat, it adds extra pains. And Scott was saying that he's at his local FFL, so he'll be here later. And you'll see it'll restructure the panes here on the screen, which is good because then everyone's visible. Plus, you can turn on your camera if you really want to, and then our little avatar changes to camera view, just like Hangouts used to do. And, anybody who thinks that this is a little daunting how to set this up, I'm about to make it even worse, I guess. But so the reason I do it this way and it's efficient for me is I'm sitting in front of a 47-inch screen and a 27-inch screen. And truth be told, if I had a third screen, it would become incredibly useful. But this will do for now. And it's on an i9 processor with 64 gigs of RAM and an M.2 SSD. I built this to do this. You don't need a machine this powerful. You can do it with like a 7th or 8th generation i5 or i7, no problem. It uses a lot less resources than StreamYard too, and I think that's what Tony was saying is he likes this because if he ran StreamYard and piped it to YouTube, his computer can't take it. If he runs Discord and OBS broadcasts to YouTube, no problem. So it's even resource friendly in a way. And it also helps that I'm actually part of the beta testing crew for OBS. So anybody who does this, if you have problems or questions or you want something added on, ask. Because when Google Hangouts died, we didn't have this. We didn't have the camera view, we didn't have the panel view, the live chat view, any like that. This was all based on guys like me and a couple other beta testers saying, we need to take these elements from Google Hangouts and put it in this software. And we did it. And it didn't take hardly any time at all. Like, everybody was motivated to do that. They're like, yeah, we want that. And that's what happened, and that's what you see here today.
Well, as far as ease of use, to put it succinctly, Jimmy can do it.
Yeah.
You know, there you go.
Yeah, and we sort of discussed this earlier, but one of the elements of his layout's a little, I don't want to say broken, but it's the wrong element. So I'm going to show him how to fix that later. And for any of you who want to join the server and like maybe take a stab at hosting your own show, I actually have a 3 or 4 episode tutorial series on how to set this up. And I have it as an unlisted set of videos, but if you join us here, I will just give you the links to them. You can watch them at your own leisure, and essentially it's set up in a screen share format, so it's literally just monkey see, monkey do. You know, whatever I did on my screen, you can just emulate it on your screen, and then once you figure out how to set up the sources and templates, then it's just a matter of customizing it into your own. And if you want to see a really good example of a customized layout, go back and watch my September 11th tribute episode, because that took me probably 10 hours to set up. But I'm really proud of it because it turned out really good. I actually set that chat was set up with 2 scenes. So the show started with one layout, and then it bled into a modified version of the layout you see here today. And I was able to figure out how to do the transitioning banner, the scrolling, like a scrolling list. So I put everybody's name, all 2,900 and some odd names from September 11th. And it scrolled during the entire show. And I was really happy with the way that came out. Initially, I wanted it to scroll along the bottom like a lower third. I just couldn't get it to work. But when I did it vertical, it was perfect. And yeah, I think it turned out good. And I felt really weird doing it, but I was really proud of it after it was over.
You know that it took me 10 hours is really going to make the uninitiated feel real comfortable.
Well, that was just to show you an extreme version of how detailed you can make a layout. This layout here, I recently bought a new M.2 drive, and I wanted an excuse to reinstall Windows because I was working off of a Windows 7 install that I had upgraded to 10 several iterations in. And that install was actually done in 2008. And I was like, you know what? I should wipe the slate clean and start fresh. So I did. And I had to redo all the OBS layouts because I didn't know how to export them at the time. I think I do now. And I'm going to experiment with my old machine. Make sure I got the format right. I have to save these files and copy them to this folder type situation. And once I do that, it will be easy for me to just wipe this machine and start over because there's a new technical preview version of Windows 11, and it will not upgrade over the current one I'm running, so I do have to wipe it fresh. And on the positive note, it actually fixes a couple of bugs that I can't fix. Like, they recognize that they can't fix it, so they just made a whole new version. And I'm fine with that because I'm not attached to this version yet. Oh, hey Andy, what's up? I see you there. Random603 is another YouTuber. He is a guy that I grew up with in my later teenage years. Actually, no, my middle teenage years. And he came from Massachusetts, and then they came down to Texas, and he learned what heat really is. But then he headed back up. Now he lives in New Hampshire. So he also hosts a video or a YouTube channel. He covers some hardware. He actually has surpassed me in terms of being an IT guy. Like, when he first came here, he knew nothing about this kind of stuff. And I was sort of hot and bothered and eager with it because it was the new thing in the 90s. And then I showed it to him, and he took off running with it. So now he's actually surpassed me when it comes to IT. And if you see his videos, you'll see what I mean, because he's got a billion more toys than I'll ever have. But yeah, his is sort of a random channel like mine. So like, I cover basic things like gaming, a little bit of IT, basic mechanics, tinkering, gunsmithing, and gun reviews, and then this show. He does something similar. Hardware reviews, outdoorsy stuff, RC cars if you're into that. He's got a pretty sweet, I think it's a 63 Impala 4-door. So he's got that. And he's got a giant big head pit bull. Big. So he's chronicling the life and times of his dog Xander too, which is awesome because his dog Xander was in the same sort of boat that my two dogs Arthur and Henry were in, and at the time it didn't occur to me that I should do it, but I should have cataloged the last parts of their lives just for memory. I've got a ton of pictures, but I didn't keep very many videos, so it's really cool that he's doing that because someday he'll look back on this and say, you know what, I did the best I could, and I gave them the best life they could have had. So that's really cool, and I'm glad you're here. Anyway,
Yeah.
we were talking about setting up the show. So if you want to do this, if you'd like to try this, I have no problem showing you all how to do it. I have the tutorial series. I'll share you the links with those. If there's anything missing from those that you need to see, I can record it. It's not a big deal. Like, recording the tutorial videos is just like me doing game streaming. It's really easy, and I've even got a layout for it too, so it's not a big deal. And even if you don't want to host a show and you just want to hang out, be part of the panel, or just hang out for the lobby, Monday through Friday, about 10 to 5 Central, we're in the lobby for working stiffs. And there's really no requirements for that. It's just be aware that most of us are at work. So you're going to hear work sounds, background noises, things like that. A lot of guys hear like tradesmen, like HVAC, or like we got one guy who's actually building a boat. Like a big boat, like 100-foot, or was it 100-foot or 100-ton twin engine diesel boat. So it's like, I've got a little bit of everything here. I've got retirees, I've got tradesmen, I've got IT guys, we've got retired folks. I mean, just everybody. The only thing I will request, though, because of a recent situation we had here, is if you are a part of the lobby, please use a headset or an earbud, because if you're on a laptop, you may not realize it, but when you speak into your microphone, it plays back on your own speakers, and it back feeds amplified in a squeaky loop. And some of the folks here are also war veterans, and some of them have tinnitus, and it drives them batshit crazy. So usually I try to tell people, hey, go to a headset or go push to talk or something, because you're literally just crushing that guy's ears. Stuff like that. Other than that, you're free to say and do whatever you want, because I don't give a shit. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, if you want to be a YouTuber, I'll show you how. If you want to host a show, I'll show you how. If you want to be part of the server, I'll let you can join. It's perfectly fine. Just send me an email. Links down there below. It's a long email address. Extra credit points if you know who that person is by name in that email address. I'll give you a clue. Pan-Pacific power play bullshit. Anyway. We are flaming dragon! Anyway, so that's a
Well, I'll
pretty
tell you,
accurate.
if you want to be a YouTuber, there is a certain surprise that comes with how people react to things that you don't think anybody on God's green earth would ever want to hear.
I really enjoyed Jimmy's they them in law discussion. That was hilarious. So we started off with like 2A related news and like just gun chats, right? And the early watch sort of tangents off of that and goes into just whatever pisses Jimmy off that day or whatever bothers Tony that day. But see, that's the thing about these shows is it gives you like a kaleidoscope of the type of people who have the same common interest. Okay, yeah, I collect rifles. He collects rifles. I'm into golf. He's into off-roading. I have dogs. He has cats. Stuff like that. I have a wife and 3 kids. Jimmy's got a they-them-in-law in the future that's taking his stepdaughter away to Montana to start a cult of, I don't know, alien nuns or something.
Beyond me on that particular little account, but that at the onset when we started messing with the early watch, he started it. I came in, and our idea was to 1, kill time, 2, kind of disseminate news, 2A related news, but do it in a way that would stretch the limits of the First Amendment. And that's always been a conscious part of our program.
I was going to add this story this week, but I opted not to. When you just said stretch the limits of the First Amendment, it immediately reminded me of this. The ACLU says that we need to abolish the Second Amendment because, quote, it suppresses the First Amendment. Now, I'm sorry. The Second Amendment is what defends your First Amendment. You got that a little bit backwards. That story broke yesterday. I was gonna put it in the show, but I mean, I couldn't put any meat and potatoes behind that. I mean, it's so obvious, it's stupid. It's like, no, the Second Amendment is there to defend all the other ones in the Bill of Rights. It's not there to suppress any of them.
My first thought on that would be, Jesus Christ, do these people have any grounding in reality?
No. Because they all got COVID. I did that because Zorro's in the audience, and he loves when I say that. Because COVID.
Morning, Zorro.
All right, so let's see. We covered the YouTuber thing. We covered the video tutorial thing. I guess we should do our personal week in reviews. And since it's just the 2 of us, and I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, let's go ahead and do that and knock that out. But you go ahead and go first. Anything exciting or interesting happen? Especially that thing you told me about it before we got on air. That's really cool. That's huge news. You should share that.
I did the early watch all week, and we actually threw in a Thursday show until Jimmy lost his internet.
I thought that did end up a little abrupt.
We're not going to do that very often, but we want to just do whatever the hell we want, to be honest with you. That's why. As far as the news Sean was referring to, my old lady, my missus, started getting her ducks in a row to retire. She cashed out her 401, paid off our house, got a small lump of cash in the bank to go buy property somewhere, and a camper. We were talking this morning about going to get the camper and a generator.
Oh, yeah, I would second the generator without a doubt. Um,
Oh yeah, because the generator will be useful here even before we
yes.
move out.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, we had, I think it was a Category 1 hurricane hit, and my boss preemptively last year, because of a previous tropical storm, he bought one. And I, re- I bought mine back when I think Ike hit, and it was price gouging on a scale you've never seen before. The generator I own now, I think is only about 500 bucks. But at the time, because of shortages and the fact that we were out of power for, I think it was 50 days, we paid like 1,500 for it, which is insane.
Ow!
Yeah. It's only an 8,800 watt generator. No, sorry, mine's a 5,500 watt, so it's even smaller. But my boss bought one that was 10,000 watts, really heavy. It's got a half-liter engine, and the cool thing I thought about the one he got, I think it was from Home Depot. It can take regular gas or it can take natural gas. You flip a manifold over and you plug a hose in if you want to do natural gas. The other really cool thing is it's got 4 breakers built into it. It's got a master kill switch built into it. It's got um, it's got an electric starter, but it still has a pull starter for redundancy if necessary. And I gotta tell you, if you're gonna buy a generator and you can afford the couple extra bucks to have an electric starter, fucking do it. I can't believe how much nicer that is. You know, it has like
You know,
a wheelchair battery to start it or whatever, and the magneto can keep the battery topped up. And I'm like, yep, do that.
I'm seriously considering buying a uh, generator welder,
Oh yeah, that's not bad.
just because the welder idea is kind of handy.
Well, see, that's
Uh,
that thing we were talking about earlier. You know how I was like, maybe get something with a diesel? So, my initial plan is I've only got, oh, I got 12 payments left on my Thunderbird. So, by the time that's paid off, I'm already starting to shop around now. But my goal is, and this is changing. This is fluid depending on what I can afford. My initial plan was to get like a 2017 to 2020 uh, Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn Eco Diesel 4-wheel drive with the Ram boxes, toolboxes in the bed. Very specific, I know. But I mean, when you're buying a CPO, you can do that. You can kind of just wait for the right one. But on the flip side, it's a CPO. There's only that one. So if you want it, go get it. If not, it's gone. And I'm going through this with George right now because he's trying to buy a truck. But my only goal for this truck is like a moderate lift, like 3 inches at the most, so I can run like 37s on it. Because the stock ones can run almost 35s. So I'm like, okay, 3 inches of lift will probably give me 37s. That's tall enough. I don't want it to be gigantic, just big for water. Um, I've got a friend who makes custom fuel cells. So he's going to weld me up a fuel cell that fits in between the Ram boxes because it does make the bed a little narrower. Then I told him I wanted it to hold at least 150 gallon. And then I'm going to attach an electric fuel pump to it that feeds it into the fuel neck of the truck. That way I don't even have to get out. Because you know they got the hand crank pumps that you can just put on the side? Well, if I put that tank in there, it's not because I want to share it with other people. I just want it so if I'm driving to Tulsa and I'm running a little low, I could just flip a switch on the dash, watch the gas needle go up, and shut it off when it gets up to full. That it's lazy, but it's actually convenient too. In your case, the generator welder, I know they make those for trucks. And if I can't find the half-ton truck, or if another, say like a 2016 or a 2015 with low miles comes up, that's 3/4 or 1 ton with the actual 6.7 Cummins, then I'm going that route. And if I go that route, I'm absolutely getting a generator diesel welder. Because that way, I've got the onboard welder that I used to have before. I have a generator that I could just pull my truck up close to the house and plug into if I had to. And I still have a pretty, awesome towing vehicle too. So it's like it serves 3 purposes. And in your case, that would serve three purposes too, because if the power ever goes
Well,
out, generators built into the truck.
well, the thing is chances are where we get property at's not going to have electricity on it when we get it.
Right.
So that's the whole idea of having the generator and the camper before we even do any of that. Uh, and my boss has or my former boss has it's a Miller
Mm-hmm.
welder generator that they don't use, and I think I can probably buy fairly reasonable. And it really hadn't been used a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm considering that. But if I could buy an 8 or 10,000 watt generator for 1,200 or less, I'll probably just go that route and buy a cheap little flex core wire welder if I need to weld.
Yeah. That's what I was going to mention. The generator my boss bought, it's the 10,000 watt, it's dual fuel, electric start. The tank that's built into it on the top holds 15 gallon. It's pretty good size. He got it for $8.99.
Holy smoke, that's way cheaper than I expected.
Yeah, me too. Like I saw it and I figured that was at least a $1,500 generator. Nope, $8.99. It was on sale, and they delivered it to the shop. So I was like, awesome. But yeah, it's worth having. The thing about the truck and the generator welder thing that I mentioned, um, I got the idea initially from the Russian Navy, and I know that sounds really strange, but the Russian Navy has ports all along the eastern coast near Vladivostok, and they had a storm come by one year that knocked out power for the entire village. So the Navy brought a nuclear sub to port and plugged into the city power grid and ran the city for a week until power could be restored. And I thought, I need that, right?
Yeah, you want the sub.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I need that capability to power other things. And I've been around Cummins engines most of my life, so I know them pretty well. I know how capable they are, either as, high torque for towing or sipping on diesel at 7 parts per million at idle. I mean, it's insane how efficient these things are. Because I used to go camping with Steve, the guy that comes in here from time to time, and we went to Matagorda Island, which is about a 30-mile stretch of uninhabited beach. You buy a stamp, you can camp out on there. Fishing, shooting, whatever. He brought his truck out there. It had a full tank of diesel. He has a camper in the back with a little like rubber tube between the camper and the back of the cab, so it's sealed. And he, sets up an air mattress. So he goes in his Ram. I go in my Grand Wagoneer at the time. We cruise the beach, and then we decide we're going to camp here for the night. So he pulls in. He doesn't key off. He just leaves the truck running. I key off because I've got a 413 cubic inch gas guzzling V8. I'm like, I can't do that. Just keyed it off. So my Wagoneer's getting a little bit of warm. I put a screen over the tailgate glass that rolls straight down, and I got an air mattress back there, and I could just unzip the screen, and fresh air's coming in and out all the time. This motherfucker is sitting on the beach with his diesel at idle, with his air conditioner going, and it's feeding the camper. And his dad worked for NASA, so that camper shell is insulated like the shuttle. So I wander over there and I tap on the glass. He opens the glass and I could feel the cold air. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, how long can you run that? And he goes, I don't know, but we're about to find out. So we went to bed, woke up the next day. His truck is still idling. The inside of his camper is 72 degrees. I'm like, you bastard. He's fresh as a daisy, right? I feel like a nutsack after a marathon. I'm just like, it was hot. I walk over to his dash. The diesel needle, the fuel needle, just moved one needle width off the full peg. And it ran for like 11 hours at idle. I'm just like, you son of a... I was like, you brilliant, magnificent bastard. I was like, how did you know that? And he goes, dude, you see 18-wheelers pulled over on the side of the road all the time. What do you think they're doing? And I thought,
Yeah,
huh.
if it's cold outside, most commercial outfits won't shut them off.
Yeah, and they block off most of the grill too. But around here on like I-10, there's these like rest areas where trucks can pull in, and there's parking spaces for cars, but there's these long strips with lines painted in them that if you're this truck with this length of trailer, you fit in these gaps, you can have this spot. And they just sit there with the parking lights on and the engine running. All the rest of the lights are off. Just the parking lights and the marker lights on the trailer are on. And you can hear them idling away. Because I remember one night I stopped at one because I had to take a leak, and I got out of the car, and it was like, this is out in the country. And if I was in a field, I would go deaf from the sound of like crickets and just like birds every once in a while chirping in the middle of the night, that kind of whistly noise that you hear all night, constant drone. Well, at the truck stop, it was just this vuvuzela sound of diesel engines idling. And I mean, truth be told, there's a smell when you've got like 12 trucks all idling in close proximity, but they don't smell it because they're in their truck, in the air conditioning, sleeping in the cab, or I don't know, shenanigans with lot lizards or whatever.
Well, I can tell you that if you go back a couple of decades or so, back to the Cummins company was offering stuff from like 250 horse to, let's say, 335.
Yeah.
The racket that they made idling was impressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And these days they're quiet as a church. I've been entertaining the idea of getting my Class A again, because I keep talking to the drivers that come to my shop and what they're saying in terms of money. Yeah, it's more than 3.5 times what I make now. But I talked to one trucking company in my area, and they were very eager. And they were like, "Well, do you have any questions? Is there anything you'd like to have?" And I said, "I'd really like to have an International Lone Star." And the guy kind of smiled, and he took out his phone. He's like this?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "Yeah, we run a fleet of those." And he's like, "Anything else?" And I said, "Mac Anthems." And he goes, "Yeah, we got those too." And the beauty of those are, they're both automatics. It's the weirdest thing. Like, we used to make fun of automatics growing up with hot rodding, off-roading. We were like, number one, slush box. Number two, transmission fluid heat becomes an issue. Number three, you can't bump start them for like a Jeep or something, right? Number four, they're usually slower because the shifting is slower. Today's automatic is completely different. And they can even use them in, heavy vehicles like diesel trucks, right? On the Lone Star, you have your turn signal on the left and your wiper control. No, sorry, you got your wiper controls that act as a turn signal on the left, and there's a stalk on the right that's got a twisty bit just like the wiper controls. But if you look carefully at the knob, that little twisty bit on the wand says reverse, neutral, drive, low. That's where you shift the transmission. And I thought, I don't know how I feel about a linkage to a truck that fully loaded weighs 99,000 pounds with this chintzy little twisty knob. But it's been out for over 10 years and it still works, so maybe it works. On the Mac, it's even crazier.
Well, it ain't like that little knob's actually hooked by a rod to the damn transmission.
Right, it's all electric solenoids. But on the Mac, it's even weirder. You get in, and the only stock is the turn signal stock, and I think the tilt column. On the dash, you got your radio, and just above the radio, like a fucking Aston Martin, there's a neutral, reverse, drive, and low button. You just push a button and off you go. I'm like, I can do that.
Come on, man. They need a freaking center console with the T handle in the middle of it with push button on the side.
Well, I mean, the Mac is awesome. I got to admit. That's like one of the nicest things that comes out of New York are those trucks. But yeah, I'm thinking about it because I'm not really tied down, And
then I was around early automatic semis. They left a lot to be desired.
Yes. The new ones have a lot of gears, and the traction control systems are really good in them. and the ABS in them are good. And I mean, let's be honest. If I take a gig like that, I'm not gonna be an owner operator. I'm gonna be a fleet driver. So it's not a big deal. Like I don't have to worry about the maintenance or anything. It's like I just bring it in when they tell me to bring it in. I just drive. Don't
The
ask me. I voted for Kodos. You know, that kind of thing.
I think the best advantage in automatic transmissions for a long time has been lock-up torque converter.
Yeah, yeah. And if you have anything from GM, say post 1998, you've got one and may not even realize it.
Oh, my
There's
'86 van had lockup.
yeah, electronic or
Yeah,
okay.
I know
Yeah, I
for
think the
sure it was
700s
lockup
do.
because one time it didn't come unlocked.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the 700s did have them. Man. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. But okay, so recap. So early watch Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You will see on occasion a Tuesday or Thursday show, which is really cool. The really weird thing, and I noticed Jimmy said this too, or maybe you said it, which I thought was amusingly annoying, was you got more viewers on the off day than you did on your regular day.
That would be me. Yeah,
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of funny because you catch your audience off guard with a surprise episode, and yet they all showed up.
yeah. So we're considering, just doing it on Tuesday and Thursday till they catch on to that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're like, aha, you're used to this. Here, now we're doing it on Sundays. I gotcha.
No, I don't think we'll ever do it on weekend.
No, that's my territory and midnight ranges on Sundays. All right, so let me get into my week in review just a bit because I had been promising uh, 2A related, gun related content because I know I record a lot of video games and apparently YouTube now knows I record a lot of video games because this month's YouTube, what do they call it? Creators Journal or whatever. It said, learn how to make your gaming channel grow. And I'm like, I'm not a gaming channel. But then I looked at my playlist and I went, fuck, I'm a gaming channel. So uh, I think I only did one release this week, and it was a game called Clan Folk. And it's sort of like a city manager type thing, but it takes place in medieval Scotland. And before you say, you're not Scottish, yes, I am actually. So it worked out really well. I did the game, and I've been holding that impression all week. I didn't want Scott to hear it because then he'd try it and it would get slaughtered. Anyway, um, I did the
Your
video.
last name's McCoy.
I know, but
That's
my
pretty fucking Scottish.
yeah, my genealogy comes up Korean, Irish, Scottish, and I think a bit of Russian. I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm pretty sure I saw that in there. But I'm not like Baskin Robbins. There's only like 3 or 4 flavors. But anyway, I did the video. I stumbled through it the best I could because, truth be told, sometimes I'll do a video without ever playing the game. I'll just jump in and you'll see it as I do it. And then if I screw up, it's because I want it to be as honest as possible. The first 30 series that I do, it's supposed to be impressions. So I don't want to master it and then do the video because that seems too canned. Sometimes I just pick up the game and I'm like, okay, guys, you're going to see it as I'm doing it. If I screw it up, this is what you're going to experience too. Well, I did that. And the first reply to that video was the guy who made the game. He's a one-man developer. Like, I like to do indie games, which is, independent content creators, not just corporations like Blizzard and Activision and Treyarch and all them. This is one dude. It was his passion project. He took the time to comment on my video in detail, even. And based off of what he saw from my video, he made changes to his game 3 times since to sort of help people like me who played it because he said, well, if you did that, chances are everyone's going to have the same kind of experience. Maybe I should fix this to make it a little more comprehensive. Because, it was like the blind leading the blind in certain aspects of it. So I thought that was really cool that I was actually able to grab the attention of the guy who wrote the program. Really cool. First time that's ever happened. Usually I apply to be a beta tester. Instead, this guy came to me and I thought, oh, that's cool, right? So that's the only video I did this week, game related, I think. Maybe two, but I'm pretty sure there's just that one. And I had planned on recording This Old Gat. I even got to the point where I made the thumbnail and splash screens and everything for it already. For those of you who don't know, I purchased a 1942 produced Model 38 Swedish Mauser. It's my 6th Mauser, I think it is. 6th or 7th Mauser in my collection so far. And it's always been on my to-do list because it's one of the finest 6.5 millimeter rifles you can get. It needed a few things. And I went into that fully aware of it. You know, it was missing small parts. So for instance, this particular one is missing its rear leaf sight with the adjuster. It had the incorrect upper handguard. It had the handguard from a 1894 carbine. It was too short. But it fit, and it was included with the rifle. It's just it was too short, so the barrel band didn't reach it. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to have to get one of those. It was missing its rear sling swivel and the screws that go in there with it. It was missing the pin that holds the leaf in place. It did not come with the optional Swedish sight hood. So I was like, okay, I'll buy one of those. And what else was missing? I'm looking at the parts now. I think that was it. Yeah. Those are the parts that it was missing. So I was able to find a full-length short rifle upper handguard, $20. It looks like brand new. It's insane. I got all the small parts except the leaf itself. I bought one for a Model 96 because I was going to scavenge the adjuster out of it, but it's too wide. It won't fit the 38 pattern rifle. I ordered the 38 sight leaf, but it came from Century Arms. I ordered all that stuff last week, and I still don't even have confirmation from Century Arms. It just said your order's in process. So because I'm missing that part, I really don't want to tear it down and do the video yet, unless I decide to make it a two-parter, which I'm considering if I can flesh out the video for length. If I can't, then I'm not going to do it, not just for the sake of doing it. But once that sight comes in, then I can mount it to the gun. I won't have the adjuster, but at least it'll remain a 100-yard zeroed gun. That's fine for now. I can buy this marksman sight that is optional. It's called a AGJ or AGP Lion sight or something like that. It's from the Swedish made it, and it's got a very fine tactile knob on the top to do 25-meter increments. But it's $125 just for that leaf. And I thought, I can't justify that. Because if I was going to buy it and put it on the rifle and sell the rifle, I'd make a pretty good chunk of money off the gun. I'd make up the money for the leaf and everything many times over. But I'm greedy. I bought the rifle because I wanted it. So I intend to keep it. I don't have to have that sight. And even if I did put that on there, I lose 1,300 meters range. The original sight goes up to 2,000. This one only goes up to 700. Now, let's be honest. I'm not going to shoot at 2,000 yards. Probably never. But it was original to the gun, and I kind of want to put it back on there if I can get one. I don't know. I'm still up in the air on that. I might buy the $125 sight anyway, because you only got to buy it once, right?
Morning, Scott.
Morning.
So, you went to your FFL for a background check. What did you get?
My SIG.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 239, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's see. That was... I think that's all that happened. Yeah, I got all my parts. Oh, no. Actually, no. 2 of my dogs have whipworms again. For some reason this year, like, parasites in people's yards in my neighborhood, it's just atrocious. I've been fighting whipworms across 6 different dogs now for 3 months. Like, oh, this one's got it this time? Here, eat this. This one's got it this time? Okay, take these. So, yeah, I've had to treat 2 of my dogs for whipworms. What else?
Certain things in your weekend review you need not share, and that would be one.
No, I was going to share the thing that I probably shouldn't share about what happened to one of those dogs. I'll probably tell you off air because it's kind of gross. But, no, that's about it. The Greek, the ex-girlfriend who may or may not be an ex-girlfriend is, I don't think, an ex-girlfriend anymore. That sort of happened again. So, yeah, that's pretty much my week in review. I don't have a whole lot going on other than that. Although she was
I hope
banned
Kelsey
yesterday.
is really good.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I can't deny. Yeah, I don't know. That was a conquest unfulfilled, so I get a second stab at it, I guess, so to speak. All right, Scott, since you're here, week in review. What's up?
Not much. Got my gun finally
Mm-hmm.
after waiting a week.
Mm-hmm.
Shipped my other gun back to Collector's Firearms.
Mm-hmm.
So I should be getting the refund from that soon.
Yep.
Well, now, just for a second, pretend that some of us in here are not
Let me do it. Let me do it.
encyclopedias. And what the hell is a SIG 239?
Oh, that.
A SIG 239 is basically a single stack, non-railed version of a 229, or like a closer would probably be like a 225, but in 9mm.
Okay.
So they did make this gun in 40 cal, actually.
Mm,
Brushed stainless steel slide, which, I mean, they're all stainless steel slides, but this actually is factory brushed. So it looks real nice.
let me try to equate it in Glock terms, Tony. Imagine having a Glock 19, which is a double stack magazine, right? And
Right.
then you find the Glock 48, which is essentially the same gun with a single stack magazine. Or maybe I'm thinking of the
1990s
42.
version of a concealed carry gun. A lot of
I'm
cops
not-
would carry this off duty.
I'm one that's not super well versed in SIG stuff.
Or better yet, the Beretta 92, right? 92? Is that 92 or 91? The M9, right? 17 rounds double stack Beretta. Iconic 80s gun, right? The model
Yep.
from yesteryear is the model 51, Beretta 51. It looks just like a 91 except it's single stack. Same sort of concept. Thinner grip makes it a little easier to pack.
Yeah.
I get it, man. I switched from a double stack.
I
That
bounce
would be like a
around.
19X Glock. There's some special magic with these particular guns that they just shoot so nice. Super accurate.
Oh. Okay, because I got this text, I want to share it with you guys. I tend to use, buy, and carry belts and holsters from a company called VersaCarry. They use water buffalo shoulder leather, which is really thick and resilient. And they make an epic shoulder rig, and it usually costs $199 or 189 bucks. A couple weeks back, they had a sale on what they called their blemished items, and they had a code, BLEM50. It was 50% off of whatever you can put the code towards. Well, what ended up happening is the code worked for everything on their website. So when I got it, I shared that information with everybody, and they sold out of a lot of stuff. Well, fast forward to 2 days ago, that sale is back, but they were out of shoulder rigs. I just got a text. Shoulder rigs are back in stock. You can have their badass shoulder rig for 99 bucks shipped to your door. If you want one,
That's
if you've
the
ever
jump on it.
yeah, if you ever wanted one, now's the time because they are incredible. I got one for a full-size pistol And I just ordered one this morning for the smaller size. They come in 3 sizes. So, for instance, I got one so I can carry my 40. This is a 43. I always get the damn number wrong. 43X. So I carry it on outside the waistband, 3 o'clock. But it'd be nice to have a shoulder rig for my smaller pistols too. So I ordered one this morning. $99, shipped to my door. It'll be here in 2 days.
Come on, shoulder rigs are for guns that weigh like 3 pounds.
Well, that's why the first one I bought was for my large pistols. So currently in my shoulder rig now, I've got my 4006 TSW with the 2 extra mags. So it's 3 mags, 1 in the gun, 2 in the little pouches on the other side. And that gun weighs about 3 pounds, yeah. And then I can also use my Rock Island ProTac 2, my 17 round 10 millimeter. I can put that in there. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm pretty sure the Q5 steel frame Walter mouthful, that would fit too. I'm not sure because the SRO might get in the way.
You need one for the Magnum 500.
I have one.
Magnum. Yeah,
no, I have one. It's the only one I can get that I liked was the Galco Kodiak. The only problem with it is it goes across your chest. So I'm trying to talk to a guy in town here. If you're in the Houston area and you need custom leather work, there's a man named George Vogt, V-O-G-T. And that dude is about as Texan and country as you can think of. Like, it looks like this guy was dug in out of the Alamo. But I'm asking him to modify my Kodiak so it carries onto the side instead of across the chest.
You know, Mikey does holsters. I mean,
yeah.
Where's the oars born?
Well, I mean, I was trying to go local because, I mean, I did some work for this guy in the past, so he kind of owes me.
Well, I'm just saying that, you know,
he
somebody put something. Mikey does good work.
Well, yeah, I've seen his stuff is awesome. I tried to task this guy George with finding me a Tex Shoemaker 42A swivel holster for the Colt Python. Good luck finding one. He couldn't find one, but instead what he told me is, well, why don't you just get the one from the company that Tex Shoemaker copied? And I thought, wait, that's not his original design? He goes, there's no such thing as new ideas. And I'm like, okay. So he turned me on to a company called Bruckheimer, I think it is. They were around since the 1920s. They make a holster called I think it's called either the Lawman or the Patrolman. I've got one. It's exactly the same holster. Like, if you want to get your Rick Grimes on and holster your swivel holster, or get a swivel holster, I think it's called a Bruckheimer Patrolman. If not, it's Bruckheimer Lawman. But I've got it, and it's mint. Like, mine was made in, like, 51, and it was never used. It feels like an old holster. It smells a little like an old holster, but it's got no wear on it at all. And I thought, maybe I was thinking about sending that to Mike and be like, yo, Mike, take this, make yourself some patterns, and make like a dozen of these. And you can sell them on eBay for like, well, the Tex Shoemakers are selling for $200 to $600 now. So you price it accordingly. He could probably sell it for at least $150, maybe more. And then all I ask in return is once you're done, send me, my holster back and maybe give me one of your creations for my trouble. So I have 2, but whatever.
All you can do is ask.
Yeah. No, I've mentioned it before. Oh, I guess my dad's up. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the dogs are losing their mind.
Nope.
Good. Okay, so that would be the weeks in review. Let's get into the news, shall we? I mean, we've already burned an hour. I'm surprised we made it this far.
The news yet?
Nah. Because I really wanted to do that so you want to be a YouTuber thing. Like, I really wanted to get that out of the way.
Just one last note on that. It can be really, really rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, get your creative juices flowing. I mean, the layout you're looking at now from the YouTube side, it's not hard to do. And mine's still being tweaked and changed every once in a while. So it's not the end of the world. Morning, Sam.
Howdy, Sam. The thing is that the mechanical or electronic side of this, once you get past that, then it's all about content.
Yeah. Yeah, the learning curve for this, it looks daunting, but it's not. You know, when I failed to do the export before I wiped my machine and I reinstalled OBS and I'm like, oh crap, it didn't work, right? Recreating this was not hard because I got so used to making elements that it wasn't a big deal anymore. As a matter of fact, I changed it from the original ones. If you go back to like episode 2 or 3, you'll see that it's actually different. It doesn't have the scrolling thing at the top. It didn't have the gradient for the texts and stuff. I don't know. I like that gradient thing, so that's why I put it in everywhere now. But it's really easy to set up. So, you know, like I said, if you guys are interested, email in the description below. Send me an email. I'll show you how to do it. If you want to host a show here, you're welcome to do so. I'll create your own channel. I'll make it private, so not just anyone can jump in. And yeah, we'll get you up and running. I mean, I think I taught Jimmy in less than 2 hours.
I would say also that if you want to do it, you know, kind of get you a loose framework of what kind of direction you want to go.
Yeah.
But it's not set in stone because look at what the hell Sean's doing.
Yeah, I kind of
Bouncing all over the
meander.
board about content.
Yeah. Yeah, a long time ago I watched a guy who did a video called So You Want to Be a YouTuber, and he said that the way to make your channel succeed the most and the quickest and the most effective is pick one thing and only do that. Don't do multiple things on your channel because you'll fracture your audience. Well, I'm going about this hoping that I attract a fractured audience because my whole goal in all of this is to show people who may be, say, anti-gun that we're all normal people, right? So the things that are on my channel are what you would see in everyone's channels out there. But it's like, he's a gun guy, he must be evil. Wait, he's playing a game that I own, that's really cool. You know, something like that, right? Or, oh look, he makes a pretty mean beef stew out of or he makes a really good bear stew. You know, stuff like that, right? So that's why mine's kind of a kaleidoscope of different things. Because it's to show people that we're not all deviants and we're not all like I'll say it now. I didn't get the jab. And my channel is to show you that even if I did get the jab, like if whoever's in charge, Kodos or whatever, flips a switch, I'm not going to all of a sudden turn into a Kalima, Kalima. I'm not going to run around and turn into an assassin all of a sudden, you know? It's like, no, we're all normal. It's cool.
And if they shoot you with a blow dart?
Wow. I won't see that coming, right? I mean,
See, that's one of the, like with the early watch, our underlying credo, and we're open with it even on the show, is that if we ain't offended you, we have screwed up for the day.
Yeah,
but
if we haven't found something to piss you off, stand by. We'll find something.
And it's kind of a joke. It all leads back to the whole, you know, touting the First Amendment thing, which is what the show has been about since I got involved.
Yep.
So, you know, there's a whole universe of ideas for creating content.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't have to be what we're doing. Like, if you want to come here and you want to do your stream on how to make leather holsters, that's fine. You're welcome to come do so. That's perfectly fine. I'd like to have somebody actually here that does that. Like, if Mike wanted to host a show where he sets up a GoPro right above his sewing equipment and he talks about cutting patterns and dyeing leather and doing by all means, you're more than welcome to be here. Like, I would be fascinated with that.
I would absolutely watch that just to see him poke himself with a finger.
Yeah, like I want the kaleidoscope. That's what I'm looking for. You know, There are too many, without naming names, there are too many gun channels, separate words, just so you know I'm talking about just the content creators, who are either too hyper focused on that one thing, or they're too hyper focused on a particular message of that one thing, or they're shills, whatever, right? I don't want that. Like, this is supposed to make everyone look normal, because we are normal. We're not even the new normal. We've always been normal. It's the
I don't.
people who are screaming, like a harpy because you're
I
carrying.
don't.
They're the ones that aren't
I
normal.
don't. I don't like the idea of the pro gun guys who say you're freaking insane if you don't have 30 guns. I mean, now, because I want 30 guns, I'm fine with that. But if you don't want a gun, that's also fine.
I broke a milestone with the Swedish Mauser. I'm up to 75. But see, the thing is it kind of crept up on me, if I'm honest. I didn't get into this until I was 28.
Yeah, but
And
you got to think too. All those milsurps things, people aren't really going to consider guns at the moment.
probably.
'Cause they got wood in them.
Yeah, but they look good.
Guns are black plastic evil things.
I guess. Assault weapons, right? I don't know. It crept up on me. I bought my first carry pistol at 28. I bought a Walther PPK. You should not be surprised. And then what I ended up finding out is all the deficiencies of a PPK. First of all, it was a Smith & Walther, and it was stainless instead of blued, and it was in 380 instead of 32. So I bought the wrong one. But I did have it. I gave it a fair shake. I kept it for 2 years. I tried to be good with it, and I just wasn't. Part of it was technique. Part of it was the fact that the slide kept chewing the top of my hand. I've got a permanent scar for it. I like the gun, but it doesn't like me back. So I bought my next gun. And what had happened was, for the first couple of years, I was buying guns to answer the question that the last one didn't fulfill. So the 380 felt too small. It was really heavy for what it was. I was not very good at accuracy with it. I wanted something bigger. So what did I do? I bought a 44 Magnum, the competitor. I sold a car and I bought the competitor. It was big, it was heavy. I was instantly in love with it, and it was a tack driver. And I learned that, my physique can handle big bore revolvers. So I started a big bore collection. But I was like, I still need to be able to carry something. So once I retired the PPK, I got a Smith & Wesson S&W Shield 40. I kept that for a couple of years too. But that's how it starts, right? You buy one, you figure out, maybe this really wasn't the for me. And then you go, all right, well, let's find one that is. And you buy one. Then you buy the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And then you start getting a list of, oh, that's a cool gun. I want one of those. Because you're watching other people. And then you're like, yeah, I got to get that. And you start making the list. And I think
Oh, come on now. A lot of yours come from movies.
all of mine. That's exactly. We're going to do this. I'm going to save it for next week. But we're going to talk about how the gun collection starts. I think I'll save it for that because we really need to do the news. But just pencil it in. Next week.
I want to
go ahead.
A comment here before we get too far away from it. Back to the military surplus stuff. One of the most nefarious things I've ever seen come from the anti-gun community was the term weapons of war. Because every gun ever made is a weapon of war at one point or another.
Yeah. What I was thinking was, the reason I was hesitant to agree is there's a Colt pocket hammerless, right? 1903. That was created and nobody in the States bought it, technically, for military. And then it went to FN, and the Belgian military went nuts with it, right? But, to be fair, The next gun they came out with after was in 25, and that was specifically targeted for the civilian market. But I guess what you're saying is everything is either from a war or based on a gun that was started from one. I could agree to
Well,
that.
you take the like guns that really weren't used by the military specifically, like a Henry. It seems some military use, but like a lot of it was bought by soldiers to use.
Yeah,
But
especially when they weren't required to carry a specific model. They could just buy whatever they wanted to within a
it
list.
was, along with Spencer, both of them presented to be sold to the military.
Yes.
So every gun out there, calibers might change it, but is that 25 caliber just a small version of the one that came before it?
It was. Actually, you're right. It was.
Yeah. So, that's just, I fear that they did that as a slippery slope start to banning everything.
All right, I
Well,
have
that's
to
why
answer this.
arrows.
Sam asked a question that I used to want to know the answer to constantly too, and I love the question. So he asks, besides the Desert Eagle, why don't we have any other 44 Magnum semi-autos on the market right now? We do.
Automag.
AMT Automag. It was the darling of Clint Eastwood in 1983, 83 or 84. Sudden Impact.
The only damn semi-auto handgun to give me wood.
Our AMT is sort of back. They're selling new 44 Magnum uppers for your AMT lower. They're prohibitively expensive, and it really frustrates me because I think it's a brilliant gun, and yet they priced me out of it with an absurd MSRP.
And really specifically answer the question, there's two reasons. One, rim. Two, recoil.
Well, see, that's the thing.
That makes it complicated.
Nah, that's the thing. Okay, take a deep breath. Let's start the rant. Glock is fucking retarded. I said it.
God turned out a 44 Magnum Glock, and I'll become a Glock owner.
I'm telling you. They had the perfect opportunity with the Model 44. Glock 44 should have been in 44 Automag, which is a non-rimmed 44 Magnum. Okay? Starline still makes the brass. All the load data is the same for 44 Magnum to 44 Automag. All the same. All they had to do was make it bigger. If they made it the size of the Long Slide 17 with a thicker grip, they could have made a 44 Automag Glock. I begged them for it. Like, I sent messages everywhere. I went to local shows where Glock representatives were. I was like, make this in 44 Automag. Don't fuck it up. 44 Automag. Make it happen. And they were like, we can't do it because it won't be commercially popular.
Bullshit.
No, I hate to say it, but they're right. It would not sell in the same numbers as the 9mm or the 3.8.
Every fucking Glock fanboy would have one.
Probably, and I would have one, and
I
yet
would.
They didn't do it. You know what they did instead? They built this. I'm gonna try to say this without sounding like a jerk or a homophobe or whatever. But they built the dumbest gun with the Model 44 designation. They built a half-plastic 22 piece of shit. I'm sorry. You can tell me until you're blue in the face. You don't understand. You get the Glock 44 so you can train yourself muscle memory. No. Shut up. No. You don't train muscle memory with a 22. I'm sorry. Because your muscle memory will never remember proper recoil with a 22. Well, yeah, but you can get muscle memory with the controls. No, shut up. All Glocks have the same controls.
You're setting yourself up to flinch is what you're doing.
Well, all Glocks have the same controls pretty much in the same place. You don't need muscle memory from a 22 Glock. I'm sorry. You just don't. Okay,
Well, now,
I can pick up my 43X, dump the mag, drop it, pick up a Glock 19, and do the exact same thing, drop that, and grab like a fucking 357 SIG version and do that. Like none of that's different. The controls all feel the same.
thing is, though, is people are kind of leaning that way for cost of ammo, and they were talking about this morning on Caliber Corner.
Yeah.
I am a huge proponent of 22 LR. I really am. However, as a substitute training tool, no.
Right. Like, I always jokingly say I'm anti-rimfire. Uh, there is a level of joy and entertainment that you get just blowing through 2,000 rounds of 22 LR. There is. There really is. It's fair. Like when I was younger, my friend and I would go out in this field and we'd set up like this bench and put like old junky salt and pepper shakers up on the top of it and shoot them off with 22s. There is a value there. You're right. It's a cheap. I call it cheap thrills. But if you're trying to keep your ammo cost down, Tony and I will browbeat you to death on reloading because
Oh,
that's how you
yeah.
get your cost down
Some
substantially.
some stuff with the 22, there is a limited crossover.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Long
not
range
worth
shooting.
to reload it.
Long range shooting, you can do well by shooting a 22 at 350, 400 yards.
Mhm.
You get to practice the wind and Coriolis effect and all that crap.
Yeah, it's a great way to teach you holdover.
Uh, but, you know, trying to be proficient with your handgun, and that recoil is going to make a major difference in how
Yeah.
you react to the gun.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Imagine getting a 22 caliber Henry, right? Here you go, son. Hit that can over there. Let him shoot that for like 5 years. And then one day you just reach over, if you're like me, and you grab your 1895 SBL with only an 18-inch barrel, and you're like, okay, son, hit that can. And he takes one shot and he's flat on his ass going, what the hell did you do to me? There is no training muscle memory with a 22 that will prepare you for the power of my Jurassic World rifle. But I'll tell you what,
No,
nothing will
and
give you an erection faster than shooting it either.
Oh
I will
yeah,
give
it's called the
I will
Century
give
Arrows
you
Model 100.
That's not semi-auto. That's a revolver.
I will give
No,
you
but neither is your
Oh, he's got Andy. One of these days, I need to get you on this panel while you're
or
on
your
your
Marlin.
phone. And I want to see if your internet connection on your phone is as terrible as Scott's because he's in your state too.
you know I will give you the difference between 22 and 4570. However, I have a 22 lever action Browning
Mm-hmm.
along with the Marlin 1895 with long barrel
Mm-hmm.
in 4570 and the 44 Magnum.
Mm.
And the recoil on the 44 Magnum is damn near nothing.
Yeah, because of the weight of the rifle.
Yeah, the rifle's significantly heavier than the 22.
Mm. Oh,
But
did I tell you? I don't know if I told you this. I sold my other Marlin, my 30-30.
the 336,
Yeah, the one that I got from 1974 that had the gold trigger and it was legitimately blued and it had a really lovely walnut furniture set that I'm sort of
yeah.
kicking myself mentally now that I'm describing it to you that I sold it. Yeah, I sold that. But the guy I sold it to is in love with it and he shoots it every day now. I owned it for 6 years and I only shot it once. So it went to somebody who actually will put it to use, right? You buy them to shoot them. You don't buy them to stare at them. Anyway, I have all this ammo and the die sets and the brass and the bullets and the powder for it, right? He didn't ask for any of it. So I got all this 30-30 stuff. And I thought, well, I could liquidate my 30-30 stuff, but I'm greedy. So I decided to buy a Marlin. Or not a Marlin, a Henry. I decided I'm going to buy a Henry Yellow Boy, I think it is. Whichever one's in 30-30. I'm going to buy one with the brass receiver. And I'll probably only shoot it once.
I got no qualms with 30-30.
I don't either.
It gets a lot of shit, but the same people that are giving it the shit are just going on and on about the AR round or the AK round. The 30-30 has taken more deer than anything else out there.
I would make an argument.
There's no doubt.
Well, you might be right. But I think I would make a fair argument for 30-06 just because think of how many GIs came home after World War I who wanted to have a hunting rifle, but they couldn't afford Browning's civilian offering. But they can bring home a Springfield 1903 for $5 out of a bucket. There was a
or
lot.
1917.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the funny thing, right? When you say World War I rifle, everyone immediately goes to, or American World War I rifle, everyone immediately goes to the Springfield 1903. But the fact of the matter is they serviced 4 times more pattern 17 American Enfields than they did the 1903. Matter of fact, the pattern 1917 had a better set of sights and a slicker bolt than...
Oh, Jesus Christ, the bullshit artist just fucking showed up.
I know. I saw that. But, the 1903, I don't know how the 1903 took over. It just doesn't make any sense. But it did. And think of how many hunters took deer with that. At least since 1919 and onward. But you're right, the 30-30 was around for, 40 years before that?
Yeah, and you just look at stats. 30-30 is way above anything else.
It's, I don't know. You know what my beef is? It's not that much smaller in size than a 30-40 Krag, and yet people say 30-40 Krag is a weak round. Now, I immediately smack those people across the nose and say, would you stand in front of one? No. Well, don't say it's a weak round then. But in terms of ballistic energy, it goes 30-06, then 308, then you get down to like 30-40 Krag, and then you go down to 30-30. You can't deny that. It's still
realize that
potent.
Just under 30-30 is 7.62 by 39.
Yeah, that's a much heavier pill, though.
Well, that's one of the beauties of 30-30 is you can shove about anything in it.
Yeah.
And if it's a rifle with the 110 twist, it'll eat about anything.
Oh, Andy, that Early Watch guy, that's Jimmy. He's the other host of the Early Watch. He's pulling your leg.
Yeah, I'm the pretty and intelligent one. Jimmy's the one that adds off-color commentary.
Well, it's because he's got a they-them-in-law. Like, that does things to you.
Yeah, how's the son-in-law?
The shim-in-law.
Yeah. How's she doing?
It's they shim. Just whatever. Anyway, okay, look, I said I was going to do this 30 minutes ago. We have to do the news.
Sorry.
All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm glad it went like this, but we do have stories for you. I would like to talk about them. All right, so let's get started. So we'll start with the color commentaries. Here we go. Smith & Wesson officially announced that they are moving their headquarters from Springfield, Massachusetts, where I believe that's where my PPK was made, to Tennessee.
Yay!
So they're leaving an oppressive state with insane gun control, where their state troopers are dressed like Schutzstaffel officers, the SS.
Actually, that's the other way around.
What? You're saying that the Nazis dressed up like stadies?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
They copied the Massachusetts State Police uniforms.
Oh, you're saying that uniform was around that long?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Okay, I learned a thing today. So they're leaving that state where they have a list and they have magazine capacity issues and bans and all sorts of crap, and they're going to a free state, Tennessee. And I have no problem with any of that. What I do have a problem with is how they're selling it to the nation. I watched the news article, or I watched the news broadcast yesterday on this, and all they talked about was how great it was because it's going to create new jobs in Tennessee. It's like, think of all the new jobs that are going to be created because of this move. You know what they're not telling you? The other side of that. Like, follow me here. If they move out of Massachusetts, they open up in Tennessee, they're going to have a job fair, and they're going to hire a ton of people to fill in positions as quickly as possible to get operations up and running. So that part of the story is true. What they're not telling you is think of all the jobs that will be lost in the state of Massachusetts because of this move. And
well, perhaps people at Massachusetts should ought to vote for people who make it more gun friendly to manufacture.
Yeah, then you'd still have a job. I mean, I get the jab. I get the arm jab for that. But the thing is it's not going to create jobs without making another state lose jobs. And I contacted somebody at Smith & Wesson yesterday, and I asked this question, and they confirmed what most of us would file under duh. And I said, hey, it's great that you guys are moving to Tennessee. And I told him I host the show, and we cover the news, and I just had a few questions, and this lady was very polite, and she answered pretty much everything. And I said, how many people are going to lose their job in Massachusetts to this move? And she said, quite a few. She said, we made an offer before the announcement to any employee who works here. If they want to come with us to Tennessee, we will cover their moving expenses. And not very many people took them up on it. Some are going with them. Well, some are going with them. Most are not, which means they're out of a job.
Yeah.
And I don't like that, look in the right hand and don't pay attention to the left hand that's picking your pocket when it comes to telling the news like this. Yes, you're creating jobs in Tennessee, but you're not net gain because you're losing at least that many jobs at the other state.
Yeah, but you know what? Massachusetts has been doing everything it can do to make those jobs go away anyways.
Correct.
The thing is, they offered to relocate people.
That's better than most companies.
Right. It's just the thing is most people won't take that offer, either because their spouse has a job that's not worth them leaving, or maybe they have kids in a certain private school they want to keep, or maybe no, kids have soccer practice 3 times a week. There's a litany of reasons not to take the offer, and I think Smith & Wesson were banking on that because now they don't have to incur the cost of other employees' moving expenses. Maybe a few, maybe a couple of corporate positions because it is the corporate headquarters, but by and large, a lot of those guys are not coming, which means they got to go find another gig.
No,
you know for sure they're for sure they're not coming.
I contacted somebody at S&W. Like I talked to him for an hour.
And they spoke for everybody at the company?
No, they spoke for like the lady I talked to. She was HR. And
I'll just tell you, corporate people are willing to move across country for their career.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Some are.
I'm just saying, like a private school. A private school on the East Coast isn't as different as private school on the West Coast. Soccer practice on the East Coast is not much different than soccer practice on the West Coast. Like, those aren't factors that would stop me from moving my family if my career needed it.
Yeah, but we're talking Tennessee, not the coast. There's a whole damn different world down there.
Oh, I didn't know where the other one was, and that's not even a factor.
Well,
where's it start at? What's it in Connecticut or something?
It's in Massachusetts.
Springfield, Mass.
But the thing is like if you wanted to take your kid to Amherst College, right? They have
That's their prerogative.
Right.
Tell them to move out and go to the college.
They have a lot of prerequisites to get into Amherst. And if you have your application saying that you went to so-and-so private school in Boston, you've got a much better chance of getting in. Parents know this. Parents are going to be like, I'm not going to jeopardize my kid's chances of getting into Amherst. Stuff like that.
But then you have to break down.
Go to any of those colleges.
Yeah. Also, determine if they have a male or female child, because male decline in college is, I think they're at like a 35-65 split, male to female new admissions.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a lot of factors in that.
And I mean, that's just a couple of things. I mean, what if you've got family in hospice care, or what if you've got an elderly parent that, doesn't want to leave and you have to take care of them? I mean, there's the way she laid it out to me was, we made the offer, but not very many people are taking it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But they're going to fill positions with people that are already at the new place.
Did they make the offer in good faith? What else can you expect?
She said they made an announcement that they're going to move, and that if anyone was interested into transferring over with the move, that they will discuss moving expenditures and just that whole process.
I mean, granted, a lot of people ain't gonna want to move because they're sitting there on a freaking house that they're paying a mortgage on and friends and everything. But
yeah, you're right.
Still,
you're right.
Let me break it down like this: the housing market up here is hot as fuck right now. So
yeah,
they wouldn't have a problem.
Hold on. Tennessee is where my wife works for a title management company. Mm-hmm. Tennessee is the #1 housing market right now.
I think what Scott means is just the
availability to sell.
Very popular, yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Like if you have a guy who lives there in a historical house, they're not going to want to give that up because they probably fought tooth and nail to get it. You know what I mean?
just see this, and I already know what you guys are going to say, but I'm going to say a military is a good example of this, because all of these problems that are stopping these people from moving from Massachusetts to Tennessee are not even a factor. Even I know guys that just bought houses that have mortgages that still have to move. And I know you're going to say, well, they're forced to or whatever, but they're not really. You can deny orders once in your enlistment, and people happily go, well, I don't know about happily, but a parent in hospital or a parent in a care home or a boarding school or a frickin' whatever. I'm thinking big picture here, money for my family in an uncertain time. Like, why wouldn't you take that?
Well,
that's my thing. You're basically saying, I don't want the future of my family to flourish in the career that I've already had, because you said it's an administrative or headquarters building.
Yeah.
So these people probably have master's degrees to get in that high level of marketing or business or HR or whatever the hell. These people aren't going to throw away their livelihood for these little niche things. I don't see people really fighting tooth and nail.
You're seeing this as a career standpoint. What about those people who fought tooth and nail for everything that they have outside of their work? I mean,
but
the majority of people who would
stuff comes and goes.
The country, right? But the majority of people, realistically, who would move across the country, is very small. I mean, it's just...
So let me ask this, because I kind of came in the middle of it. Is this a report that nobody's moving, or is this just like what we're theorizing is going to happen?
I have a contact at Smith & Wesson in Springfield. She's a department. She's like a department head of HR. Okay, so they do like the hiring, the firing, the PR, all of it.
Right.
I got to interview her for basically an hour yesterday, and what she told me is how they came up with the announcement, how they had given everyone advance notice before they made it public, and how they made the offer if you want to take it. And I mean, think about it like this. Military was a good example of this, right?
Yeah, but I think it's also a bad example because you don't really have a choice. So it kind of skirting the line.
In the terms of what it does to you. When you were in California and then you moved back up to Oregon, right? You packed up everything. You had to move your whole life somewhere else.
Yeah, they paid me nicely for it too.
Sure, because they covered your moving expenses. But the thing is like, imagine somebody, like an individual, has to move across the country for a job. Them by themselves, probably not a big deal. Them with their wife, their kids, their extended family, their friends, yada, 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 they have to pack all that up and move it somewhere else. Clean across the country to a state they've never been in.
But friends and family isn't really a factor in your nuclear family.
In sociological standings, you're asking them to literally
it's a
close
leap.
the chapter of their life and open a new one.
And a lot of people like that.
Some people do, but the majority don't do it. That's all I'm saying. Like,
I agree.
Out of 10 people, maybe 3.
I may be playing devil's advocate because I would 100% not do the move. But I just don't think that career people with family on the line are really going to make this a hinge point.
Right, but I mean, that's why I was saying there's many different reasons why they would or would not.
Right, yeah.
Like, everyone's going to have a different reason not to, or to do it. Go ahead,
something else to throw into this is that how long do you think Smith & Wesson is going to remain in business if they stay there?
That's true. Like Scott was saying, they do things to deliberately hamstring the industry.
At least in the manufacturing business as opposed to...
Yeah, they're leaving the state, Gavin.
I mean, are they moving because of legislation?
Yes.
In the future? Okay.
Well, all current and future. Like, we made this joke before. We used to talk about this actually way back during gun channels. We talked about how there was all these different gun manufacturers just up in the New England area of the country.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And how they kept getting smacked down. Like, think of New York, right? Sea Camp in New York. There are gun manufacturers. Kimber. Like, they're all up in the Northeast, right?
Yeah, it's like Remington, Kimber, Smith & Wesson.
Yeah.
Fucking...
And all of them were leaving. Mossberg, until they came to Texas.
Mossberg, Bushmaster, Wyndham.
Exactly.
Yeah, all of those.
All those people left because legislation in that region of the country didn't like them. They were like, we don't want you here. So they were like, fine.
They're kind of really close to the belly of the beast.
Yes.
Like an adversarial thought.
Yes. And there's an advantage to that, sort of, because it keeps your finger right on the pulse of what's trying to kill you. But then again, how much business are you losing because you're stuck there? And you're like, I can't ship to this state, or this state because we have a law saying I can't export to those states. It's like just crap like that. They get nitpicked and red taped to death. And they're like, we're done with this.
Now, why do you suppose they chose Tennessee?
Free state.
Maybe Hickok 45?
No. Well, him and
Tennessee's not as red as you think.
Those two are neighbors. But I mean... No, I think it's just free state. And I would suspect, and I should have asked her this, but she probably wouldn't have had the answer. The reason that they did this, this move, is they probably contacted multiple states and said, which one of you is going to give us the tax break for the next 10 years to bring our franchise to your state? Because that's what happened with Mossberg. Texas gave them a 10-year property tax, they were like, you know what? Don't worry about your property taxes for 10 years. We'd love to have you. There's incentives. A good example of this retail, think about Amazon when they were talking about their second headquarters. And it was a fight between Austin, Texas, and I can't remember what the other state was.
Oregon?
Okay, and then Tesla too. They were like, we're going to build another place. Other states were chomping at the bit saying, we want your business. We want you here because you'll hire tens of thousands of people in our state. We want that. We'll give you a tax break. That probably happened with Smith & Wesson too, and Tennessee probably just outbid everyone else.
Side note, isn't it funny how everybody was begging for Amazon, and now Amazon is looked at as an evil corporation in just less than 2 year span?
Because COVID.
Yeah.
We created the monster because everybody had to use the monster to get stuff delivered to them.
Yeah.
And all the little small town main streets that Walmart pretty much tried to kill. Yep. Amazon finished off.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true here. We have, I think, 2 or 3 international or national hubs here or some crap like that. Like, they built one up in Portland, one in my town, and I think there's another one south.
We had one in Houston. It was in Humble, Texas, which is an hour north of me. And within 3 years, they built 4 more. There's two
But you gotta,
within 5 miles of me now.
yeah, the benefit of that is, and this is only my thought, is, you know, they have the Western Seaboard with a bunch of stuff, right? And then you have the interstate that goes from Canada to Mexico. So you get all that
ACH.
big stuff from the West Coast. You get Texas, you know, they're getting port stuff, but it's also a central thing where their guys can branch out or send whatever. You're kind of south middle of America. It just makes sense to put them there.
Yeah,
And then I'm sure the East Coast has big ones along there.
they do.
Is there a highway that goes all the way north to south on the East Coast?
I think it's Highway 3. I think it's Highway 3.
Yeah, it would be an odd number, yeah.
They're also largely populated. You know,
True.
large concentrations of population.
Yeah.
Those sections.
A lot of these companies pick Dallas and Houston for two reasons. Dallas is one of the biggest internet data centers in the country, so it makes network traffic much easier to work with. And Houston is chosen because of Interstate 10, because from 10 you can branch out to either coast, left or right. You can go northeast to New England out of Houston, and you can go northwest, I think as far as Wyoming. So logistically for trucking companies, it's great. And once upon a time, Houston had a giant railway network. It's a little bit smaller than it used to be now, but that was one of the reasons why Houston was so lucrative, just because of its transportation advantages. Whereas Dallas has
guys,
electronic advantages.
I got to jump out of here, guys. Have a good one.
All right, man. All right, so that was the first story. Let's get into the second one because we still got 4 to go through. This one probably won't go very far, so we'll do this quick and dirty. Let me pull that up, and is it this one? Yeah. And let me straighten this out a little bit. There we go. All right, so the way I caption this, I like to put in little captions to use as intros so we can get the juices flowing. So the way I wrote this is Washington, D.C., you know, that place that's currently fighting for a $3.5 trillion over-bloated budget right now? Yeah, they're about to get a whole lot poorer because a federal judge has ruled that all people wrongly arrested for firearms possession in the D.C. area can sue for damages. They're estimating between 3,000 to 4,000 wrongful arrests were made in D.C. because of their, flavor of the week gun control in the area. And you just gotta wonder, it's like, can they afford to take this hit right now if they can't even get the budget going? Like, what are they gonna do? Bankrupt D.C.? It's just a matter of time, right? Anyway, they're saying that this is like Heller's just laughing it to the bank right now because of this, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, you're going to see a lot of civil suits, and I don't think they're the first. But if they are, think of what could happen in, like, say, Chicago or New York, for good examples. Stymieing gun control, unlawful possession charges. They've already had multiple instances of, like, passable journey violations. Like, there was that one woman who was driving across New York State because she was just trying to transit across it, and she got arrested for, like, possession of a firearm or something. Like, all of that is in there. Anyway, like I said, that's a short one. Just wanted to get that out of the way. All right. Man, everyone went mute, too. Oh, and Jaime's here. All right, so number 3. And I call this one, let me get this straightened out. I should have did this beforehand. Sorry. There we go. When clothing manufacturers get woke, are you for real? Levi Strauss is now officially on the record. They are blaming lawful gun owners for the gun violence in minority cities. I mean, look at the label right there. Anyway, the point is, number 1, it's none of their fucking business. Number 2, when did a jeans manufacturer become a political entity? And number 3, who the hell are wearing their nut huggers anymore anyway? Now, Tony was like, hey, I still wear those. But I mean, the point is you get these companies who scream like harpies because they're losing relevance. You get the same thing in Hollywood. You get the same thing in sports, professional sports. They run out of something to talk about to get in the news, so they have to do something edgy to get back in the news. But they're literally attacking the majority of their buying population with some stupid, political stunt. And you're right, Levi's has been anti-gun for years. You can be anti-gun and not freaking spout out something like that that's just going to affect your sales, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
this is
this
is a cancel culture society now. I mean, they're just
I
begging
mean,
for
have you seen the way Levi's fit some women? Of course they're anti-gun. You can't get nothing in there.
Nah, they had these jeans when I was in college. I think they were called Rockies. I think that's what they were called. They didn't even have back pockets, so it would accentuate the caboose, and it worked. Good God, did it work, man? I don't even want to talk about it because she's a happy.
Yeah, we could go down a rabbit hole on this one.
Yeah,
off-topic one.
Yeah. Melanie, if you ever find this chat, I'm talking about you. Just letting you know, you looked great in a pair of Rockies. And her husband Eric, if you see this, I'm sorry, but I knew her before you married her, so meh.
Oof.
All right. Let's see. Did you know that there was a school shooting yesterday? On a national level, you probably didn't hear it. And there's a reason for that. Just like the thing in Tennessee, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago at Kroger? I think it was last week. There was a shooting in a Kroger. It made the national news for all of about 4 hours, and then all of a sudden it just went dark. And then the next day, I tried to follow up on that story, and I found out why it went dark. So then yesterday in South Houston, there was a school shooting. And my news agency in the area, they have this really bad habit of trying to repeat a story enough times to make the reader think that it was separate instances. And it was kind of disgusting because yesterday, the top 3 stories on the front page, they do it like a giant pane and then 2 smaller panes immediately to the right of them. All 3 of them was this one shooting. And it sort of like gave the viewer, the casual viewer, the impression that there was a mass shooting plague in the city yesterday, which wasn't even close to the case. But they kind of buried it. Number 1, because nobody was killed. But number 2, it's because it didn't fit their narrative. So, here's the guy. Disgruntled former student. Let me scroll this down a little bit. I don't usually like to glorify these people, but he didn't kill anybody, so he'll have his day in court, I'm sure. This is the guy here. His name is Dexter Kelsey. And he was called a disgruntled former student. And he decided to go to the Yes private school, preparatory academy. You pay to go there. It's not a public school. So my caption for this story was, this is a school you have to pay to go to. This is not a public institution. But the media is screaming that this is a school shooting regardless. The principal, it was found out later that the principal was the actual target. And he was hospitalized. But there's no fatalities. And this suspect was like tackled and taken down and apprehended almost immediately. So the question is, and I put this as a comment on their website, and they kept it. They didn't delete it, which I was really surprised because they usually don't like when people question their narrative, but they kept it, which is cool. And what I asked was, why was a former student, in quotes, disgruntled enough to go to do something this stupid? Was it loan debt? Was it did he find out that the degree from this preparatory academy is worthless on the job market? Because I can tell you, Houston used to have an IT school called ITT Technical Institute, and they were huge in the 80s. Like mega. Like it was like it was its own college. They even started taking GI bills, and one of my former friends wasted his on it. He got a degree and he couldn't find a job ever with it. Nobody took the degree. So I was like, let's just take a step back from the obvious lunacy, from people screaming that the fault lies in the tool that's being used, and actually look at the root cause of this in the first place. Like, why don't we start there rather than plastering 3 headlines of the exact same story on the front page of your website as if it was 3 separate incidents? The suspect has been identified, and he didn't fit your narrative. Shocker. They haven't said a word about this story since yesterday. It's just like they put it there, it was shotgunned all over the front page. As soon as they found out, oh, wait, no, it wasn't an angry white dude, didn't use an AR, they just squashed it. You know, what the fuck? Anyway, yeah, there was a school shooting, but thankfully it had an injury, yes. Guy's not fatal. Suspect's caught. He's been apprehended. He's in jail. I guess we'll learn more. Maybe we won't. I don't know. You got to remember, I live in a city of district attorneys and really liberal judges who are handing out PR bonds like you would hand out, business cards. Like it's no big deal. We recently had a guy who was accused of murdering somebody, and he was let out on a PR bond. The day he was let out, he murdered somebody else. We had another situation where a guy was a domestic abuser. He was let out on a $10,000 bond, even though he put this woman in the hospital. $10,000 bond. After she got out of the hospital, he killed her. So maybe we'll get more of this story. Maybe we won't. It's really hard to say because we're being led by idiots. Let's just be honest. All right. So, Tony's not here for this one. This last one is his story, and he was really, really gonna like this one. I should have did this one first. I titled this "France is still butthurt." Let me get this up here. Oh, that's all the way at the top. Sorry, you're gonna miss part of the headline. So the story for this one is: France blames America's woke culture for radicalizing their own nation's society. Really? I mean, locking down the world for 2 years and creating an entire generation of low-educated and socially inept children, while giving everyone else the worst case of cabin fever in global history, had nothing to do with it? Now let's break this down, okay? There is a virus that we are slowly starting to understand was a culturally boutiquely designed biological weapon that an entity related to Anthony Fauci bankrolled and authorized, that they released on a population of bats, supposedly, all over the Wuhan area. And their intention was to see how it would spread and then work on how to contain it. It was like a social exercise, but people died for it, right? So you got that, which forced the entire world to go into lockdown. So now you can't go do things that you enjoyed doing the day before. You killed small business worldwide with these mandates and lockdowns. You've created, in the first year in 2019, you created a graduating class of students all across at least most of our country that only went to school for 8 weeks. Now, when I went to high school, it was 36 weeks. They graduated in 8 because they went to school for the first 6 weeks. They started the second 6 weeks, which is usually right around homecoming. And then the lockdowns shut the schools down completely the first year. There was no telepresence. There was nothing. It was stay home. We'll get over this in 2 weeks. We are now at week 149 of 2 weeks to stop the curve or flatten the curve, right? We're at that point. So you've got the first graduating class, 8 weeks. The second graduating class the following year in 2020, the estimate is somewhere between, I think it's 16 to 20 weeks. Better. But it was a lot had to do with telepresence education. How many people do you think sitting in front of their computer actually paid attention to the telepresence lecture? And how many people had World of Warcraft in windowed mode immediately next to the stream? Pretty sure you know the answer to that. So what they ended up doing was they created this generation of children that didn't get a full education. Which, to be perfectly honest, what's a full education look like in high school these days? I mean, I've been out of school for, 24 years now. I'm sure the curriculum has changed quite a bit, but how much do you get to actually learn in 8 or, say, 16 weeks? Not much. They don't really teach critical thinking in high school anymore. They barely do it in college now. It's all indoctrination centers. It's all lectures of, don't do this, feel guilty for being that, the color of your skin is who you are, and you should be ashamed of yourself. I mean, this is the degradation of humanity. We've let the weak and the stupid rule over the intelligent and the clairvoyant. So you got all this going on. They got no social skills. So like birth rates worldwide have kind of been in a slight decline. Now, yes, you get to see these stories every now and then about pregnancies are on the rise, but year over year, long term, you've got these young people who are introverts now because they've been locked down. They can't hang out with their friends. They can't gain social skills. They don't get to talk to chicks. They don't get to do any of that anymore. And I think even Jimmy touched on this on the early watch the other day. They have no confidence to talk to chicks, or they don't have any confidence in themselves. So now they're starting to think they're, I don't know, a woman when they're a man, or an attack helicopter instead of a human being. You know, just dumb shit like that. We've created this. We, not you and me, just collectively, society has created this. You have parents who might be out of a job, or worried that they're going to lose their job, or maybe they have to go to their job every day at the risk of becoming sick. Just name any one of those things. Or the ones who have already lost their job and now they're stuck at home on the dole, or maybe they didn't qualify, whatever, right? And they have to babysit their kids who should have been in school. Or they have to watch over them to make sure they don't have World of Warcraft off screen while they're sitting there watching a lecture. Everybody's pissed off. I can't go out to eat. I can't go to the movies. I can't go see my girlfriend. And then this kind of falls back on that whole conspiracy theory thing that I did where we talked about how China is breeding their army as we speak because they had lifted their child restrictions about 12 years ago, maybe a little longer now. And they have a president who started that policy, declared himself president for life, and then fired up all his manufacturing to build weapons of war, actual weapons of war, missiles, ships, machine guns, grenades, whatever. He's doing all of that, and then he goes and makes this public announcement about Taiwan and how he will eradicate Australia if they keep bothering him, and how they're gearing up for a war, but probably not until 2030 or onward, and how they're not going to listen to the Paris Climate Accord until 2050. Well, yeah, because you're building fucking battleships. Not really. You're building destroyers and whatever. But I mean, you're building all these things. Of course you're not going to abide by some stupid climate accord. You don't care. As long as your air is clean, you don't care if your smog cloud goes over the Pacific and chokes out Hawaii. Like, who gives a shit about them, right? That's what they're saying. So all this is going on, and then France loses a Navy contract with Australia for 12 diesel submarines. Because the United States comes in and says, hey, come here, bro. Let me tell you something. One SSBN nuclear submarine can take out a dozen diesel subs with no effort whatsoever. Why would you want those? We'll sell you Virginia class fourth sail, the newest and latest and greatest. We'll sell you 3 of those. And Australia goes, hey, great, let's do that. Right. So they took that. Macron got pissed off. What did he do? Pulls all his diplomats out of the United States, or out of all his French diplomats out of the United States. Out. All of them. Fuck those people. He's like, get out of there. Not to be outdone, now he's blaming us for the bullshit going on in his country. Your cancel culture has radicalized my people, and they've got short tempers, and they're fighting in the streets, and there's road rage, and, well, yeah, but you had fucking people running people over with vans and moving trucks, and shooting people in freaking, the Charlie Hebdo fucking comics and shit. Like, don't blame your societal ails on the rest of the world. Handle your shit. Don't blame us. You're supposed to be their leader. Act like it. Fucking prick. Anyway, that was the news. That was my rant. And France, I'm sorry, but go fuck yourself. That felt good. That felt really good. Yeah, and HVS is right. The French contract to Australia wasn't supposed to start deliveries until almost 2050. I think that was the end date, though. But, on the flip side, we made the deal with Australia, but we weren't even going to start building their ships until 2030. It's like we took the money and ran. Thanks, we'll get to it when we can. Just hold the line in case, China decides to move south. You got that, right? They're building a giant naval facility, something similar to what we have in Groton, Connecticut. They're building it on the north coast of Australia because they're going to want to start domestically building their navy, which is great. India just did. India, I think a month ago, they debuted their own indigenously designed aircraft carrier. It's gorgeous. It's brilliant. And it's sort of like AMC, American Motors. They took the best of certain elements from other countries and put it in their boat. So I think they have, I want to say it's the Russian radar system, but it's got the American propulsion system. Something like that. They decided they were going to take the best of everything and put it in there as like India's greatest hits aircraft carrier. But I don't know. It's cool that everyone's doing it, but the scary fact of the matter is welcome to the new Cold War. Thank China. Thank China for it. Because of their aggression, which if you kind of look at the way they're doing what they're doing and how they're doing it, you would think that President Xi was reading the history of Japanese warfare circa 1920 because of how he's gearing up and how he's preparing for war. And yet, nobody seems to care. Everyone turns a blind eye to it because they just want their cheap labor. They want their cheaply made parts. They still depend on China to be the manufacturer of the world. And we're just feeding the beast. We're making him fat. That's all there is to it. And now we're building, our U.S. Navy announced that it's going to have a 512 ship active Navy. That's cruisers, destroyers, aircraft carriers, SSGNs, SSBN subs. All of it. We're building all of it. We haven't geared up a Navy arsenal this size since Reagan. And before that, we didn't have a Navy arsenal like that since, I think, Eisenhower. Yeah, we're doing that. The British are building their arsenal. The French are building their arsenal. Germany and Sweden are building their arsenals. Russia's probably building theirs too. Welcome to the new Cold War. Welcome to the new arms race. Thanks, China. Thanks. We really needed that right now. Thanks a lot. So anyway, that's the news. Everyone seems to be kind of muted. I was going to get into, so what are you doing for the rest of your weekend? For me, I'm going to try to figure out a way to split the Swedish This Old Gad episode into 2 pieces. If I can do it, you might see that released tonight. If I can't do it, I don't know. Maybe I'll record something. Either that or tomorrow I'll just do another Kicking It Old School. Oh, yeah. If I don't do the Swedish episode, if I can't figure out how to do it in 2 pieces, then I'll probably do episode 2 or the next 30 of ActRaiser Renaissance. Because I really like that game. It's actually really well done. Graphically, too. Musically, graphically, all of it. And then tomorrow we'll be Kicking It Old School, which I haven't decided yet. I've already pre-recorded 2 or 3 of them, but I might space them out because I kind of want to put the original ActRaiser up there just so anyone who watches the series that I'm doing on the new one can compare it to the old one, had they never seen the old one. Either way, whatever. I think that's all I'm doing. Can't make bullets because I got too much other crap to do otherwise. Oh, and I'm supposed to go with the Greek to this dog show thing. Maybe. I don't know. She hasn't gotten up yet.
Mine's gonna be very boring. Just homework, and working. That's it.
1946. Thanks, Jimmy.
So,
alright, well, I guess with that said, I will start playing this, since everyone else is muted and preoccupied. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank my panel for all being here. Like I said, we do this every day in the lobby, Monday through Friday. You're welcome to join. If you want to be part of the show, or if you want to start your own, hit me up in the email in the description below. What am I leaving out?
hey, Sean, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying my weekend's gonna be.
I know.
More.
Sorry. We're doing the outro now. You had your chance. You blew it. No, we got it. We got it, dude. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Maybe hit the old like and subscribe buttons and tell your friends or tell somebody who maybe knew of me before that we do this. And we will see you all next week. Later.
Adios.